Following on from the last video we did from Deya, we're going back to Deya with this beer. This is called Deya IPA. It is called the Other Side, and it is a juicy IPA with Strata, Muteca, Nelson and Sabro, packed full of different hops. But what's it going to be like? Keep on watching to find out. Welcome back to Rocker's Beer Review. We're going back to Deya again. This is the second beer from Deya. We're doing them one after the other pretty much. This is called the Other Side. It's an IPA. Lovely sort of, very sort of summery sort of picture, even though we're in the middle of December. And it's from Deya, and it's got quite summery sort of hops really. You've got Strata, Muteca, and then Nelson and Sabro. I mean, Sabro I really associate with real summery, summery flavours, that pina colada flavour. So, what's this one all about? What's it going to be like? Let's pour it out, get it into a glass, and have a taste. See what it's like. I mean, that last Deya one that I had was brilliant, and that had Muteca in it. That had Muteca in it and Strata. So we'll see what this is. This one can be as good as that, because that was really, really good. So, beer in a glass. Certainly looks very similar to the last one. Very yellow, cloudy, 2 fingers, compacted head, lots of carbonation, moving really quickly up there. Hopefully that will sit on the head and make it a nice soft drinking beer. Let's see what it smells like. I mean, it smells quite similar to the last one. I mean, it's got all those sort of zesty lime and grape and gooseberry. Yeah, I mean, citrus fruits. There's all oranges and lemons, bit of grapefruit. It smells really fresh and really zesty. I can't wait to drink it. Cheers, everyone. It's another smasher from Deya. It is absolutely a delicious flavour. I mean, yeah, I'm starting to really like Muteca as a hop. Strata. I mean, all these hop combinations. The strange thing about it is that the Sabro hop that's in this is probably the most dialed back of the Sabro, in terms of what Sabro usually brings to the party. Usually it can overwhelm beers. If I didn't know it had Sabro in it, I would have probably said, from the taste alone, it doesn't have those Sabro characteristics. So I'm not picking up the coconut, that sort of pina colada. There's not huge amounts of pineapple. I must admit that this beer has been poured, hasn't been out the fridge that long. So it's probably a bit colder. As it warms up, it will, maybe those flavours will come out. Again, soft and creamy, as you'd expect from Deya. Very sort of zesty. There's a lot of lime, grape and gooseberry on the front end. Not much. I'm not really picking up pineapple that you would get with the Sabro. There's lots of different citrus fruits in there. Oranges, lemons, limes, grapefruits. Oh, it's brilliant. It's just a perfectly balanced beer. And it's very, very similar to the last Deya beer, the Stop Making Sense one. I mean, yes, it has similar sort of hops. That one had Strata, Muteca, and I think it was Citra. Or no, a Mosaic, I think it was. Where this one has got Nelson and Sabro, different. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that Nelson is as strong. There's definitely that sort of New Zealand twang with a very citrusy sort of fruits, those sort of gooseberries, a bit of melon in there as well, kiwi fruits. Really refreshing. Yeah, I mean, it was a day ago since I had the Stop Making Sense one. And I know it was a brilliant beer. And I'm drinking this one and I'm thinking, and I remember saying in the video, so the only regret I had was I only had one of them. But actually it feels like I've got 2, because this is very, very similar. In fact, if I put them together, I would really find it quite hard to tell the difference because there's a lot of characteristics, and without repeating myself from the last video that I did, Nelson is not. There's a little bit more of a grassiness to this, a little bit more earthiness to it, but I'm not picking up the Sabro hop flavour at all. I'm not getting huge amounts of pineapple. I'm not getting that sweetness of coconut. The only part of the Sabro is that lime zest really on the back end, but you can get that a lot. We get that with Muteca as well. It's a lovely, lovely beer. Beautifully, the mouthfeel is your typical Deya creaminess. I think that the problem is that for me is that I've probably drank this straight out too soon out of the fridge. I should have let it warm up a little bit for 20 minutes or so, because I'm not picking up the flavours of Nelson. I'm not really picking up the Sabro. I'm getting a lot of the sort of Strata, a lot of the Muteca, that sort of the same sort of flavours as I was getting with the other Deya beer. But it is still a very, very good beer. And, you know, as I would say, Deya beers, you can't really go wrong, really. 500ml can as well, so you get plenty for your money. Let's get some scores. Okay, the scores are in for the Other Side from Deya. It's an IPA, 6%. We've got Muteca and Strata, and we've also got Nelson and Sabro as well. Not picking up as much of those secondary hops, but definitely a brilliant beer. And the score is very similar to Stop Making Sense. Firstly, aroma. Well, yeah, I mean, there's a very lime and citrus sort of aroma to this. You're getting a little bit of earthiness. As it's warmed up, there's a little bit more earthiness than I certainly had on the Stop Making Sense. I think the Strata always brings that little bit more of that grassy earthiness to the mix. It's very good though, so I'm giving it 14 for aroma. Appearance-wise, well, it's a very typical Deya. I mean, I always like the fact that lovely lacing of the glass. We've got, you know, always a finger of head still left there. It's a lovely yellowy, cloudy yellowy custard colour. I'm giving it a 10 out of 10 because I think it looks really good flavour-wise. Well, the flavour is very similar to the other Deya beer. I don't know, it sort of sound like a broken record there, really. And it's quite surprising, really, because they're different beers. You know, they've got a couple of different hops in them. But the hops that they've got the same as the Strata and the Muteca, they're the big hops that are doing all the work, I think. You know, I mean, I'm getting, as it's slightly warming up a little bit, I'm getting slightly more of that Nelson. But Nelson, again, he's a very, you know, it's that white grape is very, very predominant. But there's lots of other New Zealand hops that are similar. I think Nelson's just the stronger of them all. And as for Sabro, it's very much lost in the mix altogether. I'm not picking up any of that pina colada, that coconut at all, the creamy mint. No, none of that at all. Which, you know, sometimes Sabro can over-dominate a beer, but it's obviously there, but it's so in the background. Maybe as it warms, you'll start to taste it. But it's still pretty good. Lovely, creamy, soft mouthfeel, typical Deya, 36 for flavour. Value for money, well, again, this was similar sort of price, £5, 500ml, 6% IPA. You know, it's such a great beer, it's definitely worth the money. 9 out of 10 for value. And my overall experience, well, like the other Deya, I mean, it's exactly what you want for a beer. It's got all that zestiness, yet there's a creaminess to it. It's got lots of flavour, complex flavours that are coming through. As it warms up in the glass, you're getting more of those sort of New Zealand flavours that are coming into the forefront. I suppose I'm not disappointed in that I don't get too much Sabro, because, as I said, Sabro can overwhelm a beer a lot of the time. It's like you could put Sabro and a dozen other things. You'd still always usually pick out the Sabro flavour in it, but it's dialed us back really far back on this one. And I'm not quite sure what it's bringing. I'm not picking up that Sabro. Maybe there's a little, almost like the ghost of Sabro, really. So there's a little sort of tiny little bit of that Sabro, but you're not picking up a little bit of the sweetness, maybe a little bit more of that lime, but you're not picking up big pina colada sort of flavours. The New Zealand hops are definitely overwhelming, and the Strata, which brings this sort of grassy, grapefruits, citrus fruits, bit more earthiness. That, I mean, it's used more and more, Strata. I'm seeing it more and more, and it really gives the beer a little bit more bite. I think it just stops it going too juicy. It gives that real bite on the back end. It's a cracking beer, and it's absolutely the sort of flavors that I like in my, as I said, I've said this before, but if there was one type of beer, it'd be something like that. This was the sort of beer that I could just, if it could only drink one beer, it'd be something just like this one. It's just absolutely spot on for me. So I'm going to get 17 for overall experience. So we top those scores up and we get 86. Just one off the last one. And I think it lost a point. The only point difference is the aroma. The aroma's just not quite as inviting. It's a little bit more, there's a little bit more of an earthy grassiness to it, which, some people may love, but, I'm taking a point off, but it's still 86 out of 100. That is a brilliant score, and it's another cracking Deya beer. I don't think certainly their IPAs, I think they've all been in the 80s. So in terms of, the brewery itself, it's makes consistently great beers. I must admit, I haven't had any of their double IPAs. I need to start drinking their double IPAs because I haven't actually had them, because their IPAs, the normal IPAs are so good. That 6 to 6.5%, that sort of sweet spot, they're really, really good. All of them have been really good. The pale ales just don't have the, once you've had a Deya IPA, you go have a pale ale and you think, well, it's a little bit, it's a little lacking in flavour, and that's why, because the IPAs are just the, in my opinion, Deya's sweet spot, really. But I must try the doubles and see how they work as well, because I'm sure they'll be brilliant as well. So that's enough for me for today. Deya, Other Side, 6% IPA. Check it out. Brilliant beer. 86. It's a cracking score. Hope you've enjoyed this video, and until the next one, you know what you've got to do. Keep on rocking.